You're listening to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Here are your hosts, Fran Chismar and Tom Kinezic.
Welcome back to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast presented by Pinelands Nursery. I am Fran Chismar.
And I'm Tom Kinezic, and welcome to episode 211. And
It's going to be a good one.
This is going to be a really good episode.
No pressure.
Two very, very special guests, and surprising to many of you who, once you figure out who they are, they actually promised to keep the language clean today, which is a really good thing, right? We have some kids that listen occasionally, so...
We don't have to keep it clean.
You'll figure out we won't keep it clean.
We're not going to keep it clean. Well, this one will be marked as explicit.
Yeah, so you may be familiar with these guys from other projects they have, but they're here today to talk about a newer series they have called Kill Your Lawn. So Joey and Al, why don't you introduce yourselves, give us a little bit of your background, and then talk about your new project you have coming out.
My name's Joe, and I'm staying in room 123 at the Ramada Inn right now, and I'm waiting on a waffle machine. Al, wanna go?
Yeah, my name's Al Scorch. I do the Kill Your Lawn with Joy. I also I've been on time to time do an ad, and for the YouTube on there, and it's not too bad. I'm down in the basement right now. I'm halfway through a pot of coffee. I'm working on it. Just cooking up a big kidney stone for you guys. So.
Oh man, I can't imagine what life on the road is like with the two of you. It's got to be nonstop.
Yeah.
Have you guys come to blows yet? Has it gotten to the point where enough's enough at any point?
I mean, we generally get along. He's good because he keeps me, and I've been banned from a number of establishments, and sometimes I got some it's what these kids on TikTok call neurodivergent. He kind of keeps me in line. He's good. He's good for me like that. He's so he's actually an asset. As a friend.
We balance each other out. We got we just, it's kind of like, when you mix the oil and the vinegar, you shake it up, it becomes something even more delicious than you could imagine.
Awesome. So just for our listeners that may not be familiar with either one of you, and if they're not, shame on them, but how did each of you find your way into botany?
How'd I find my way? I think because I was just looking around at the world around me and just kind of getting nauseated by it, and why it was kind of born out of a frustration. Then I found this plant stuff, and I said, this is kind of nice. I'm gonna start doing this. I just wanted to puke, a lot, and if figuratively speaking, philosophically speaking. And then I started getting into all this plant stuff, and I said, I'm gonna do this,
That's and that's an interesting path. It's funny, we find that the people that we talk to that are into this are kind of meant to do this, and they find it in a roundabout way. So this wasn't your profession. This was just a hobby that became your profession, correct?
Tom, I would say it was a hobby. It was like a spiritual medicine that, that I would describe it as that. It was more like a spiritual medicine. And then I just started, it felt so good. I just kept doing it and following it around. And I didn't mind the fact that, the majority of the demographic that was into it at the time was, a somewhat Pruinos, a demographic of Pruinos stiffs, you know what I mean? That didn't bother me. I just said, I'm going to do it anyway. And then, normally when I'm around people like that, it sometimes tend to, have a little fun with them. And I kind of like, I guess it didn't, I didn't pay attention to the subject material felt so good. I didn't pay attention to the demographic, because some people I think get turned off by that kind of culture sometimes. And I didn't, and that's kind of what I try to do. I say, don't focus on the culture, just follow the subject matter, follow the material. It feels good. And you keep reading and learning and going out there and doing it. And that's what I did.
And it's a different journey for everyone. And there's definitely a culture that's very stiff and regiment. And the culture's changing, and there's people that are threatened by that. We talk about that all the time. There's
there's a lot of people that don't like. They see me and Al. They say, who are these guys, right? Who are these slobs?
Who's these guys? They say I had to go up in front of a PhD board several times to defend my thesis, and that one guy, he just went to the library, and they resent that.
He's just cruising in here, and then he's making dildo jokes on top of it. And I don't know, I feel like he's making a mockery of it. I said, that's right, I am making a mockery of you, and it's good. It's making a mockery of you, and I'm also learning about plant evolution and systematics at the same time.
Yeah, but
fine. But I really think it's these college kids. That's the problem with the world today is all these college kids are getting involved in everything, and they got no real world experience. They just live in this bubble. They got rich parents. Maybe they got a scholarship. Mostly they got rich parents, and they're just, they're kind of ruining the world.
We kind of find like some of the old school royalty, they have a lot to lose. They've built their whole life on this at being an expert. They get money from it. Like all these people that found patents, and they're making money off of doing talks for promoting their patents, and it's a very self-involved type of living, and we're threatening their living by questioning.
It's a class thing. It's a class thing, Tom. It's what you get a college kid, if he's going into botany or some whatever, you're going to get a little bit of that same stuff. Heaven forbid he's going into business administration or something else. Now he's really going to ruin the world, but stuff still carries over. A college kid's a college kid is what I'm saying. And I'm not knocking college. I think it's important, too. I've stolen my fair share of classes. I've sat in on classes I didn't pay for before. I've gone to the college cafeteria and lifted a burrito or two by putting it in between my backpack and my bag. A lot of these college cafeterias are actually really nice. Al, you ever been to one of them? I just at the one at Cornell 6 months ago. You ever been there?
Back in the day, we actually had a card writer. This was, in a, kind of a, ad busters, hack your life kind of era thing. And we could write the little swiping cards, So you get a card from one of these kids, and you get it, and you put it in there, and a computer reads it in a card reader, and then you could write it, and we were doing that for Kinko's cards and whatnot. And you do it for the food halls. I said, wow. I am never going to pay for a mediocre meal or a food service glass of chocolate milk again in my life. And it's a real expense, it's a real expense, but like you were saying about all, the ivory tower and what have you, you don't want that stuff, that, in that Braiding Sweetgrass book, she talks about that. She's like, I went to study botany, and all these jerks told me I couldn't, and botany wasn't like that. I think it's an experience a lot of people have.
We've had that conversation with a lot of people.
Yeah, just so.
Yeah, one thing that
before you click in, Tom went to grad school at Cornell. How's the cafeteria?
I didn't go there much at all. There was one place where we were able to, as a grad student, you were able to get beer. So
that was
big Red Barn. I'd just go there and eat popcorn and drink.
Yeah, I say that's the thing. I mean, the United States is an oligarchy, right? I mean, the gap between a rich and a poor is only growing, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. So, people can do all this identitarian identity politics stuff, put the signs in the window and pretend they're allies and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the rich are still going to be rich and the poor are still going to be getting fucked, and there's not going to be a middle class. And that's everywhere. It's in every field, So it really ain't. It's not a left or right thing. It's not a Democrat Republican thing. It's about the oligarchy, and you got to keep the oligarchs happy, or else then they're going to start they're already doing a good job of fucking the planet into a coma. But I think that brings up another point, which is why it's now more important than ever to study this stuff. And I tell people, how do I learn botany? I say, whatever you do, don't go to college. Maybe you go to school, go to a community college, take a couple introductory classes, geology, oceanography, which is really important. Learn about, seafloor spreading centers. I mean, a lot, geology and oceanography actually have a lot of is subject matter, have a lot of, crossover between the subjects. But you take a couple introductory classes, take a biology course, and then you just, what I did was I just got a nice blue-collar job, and then just my free time, I was frequently scamming time off work, which was fine because I worked for a large company. And so then you just go out, you just use a app like iNaturalist, which is a really great app, and you just log everything you see, take pictures of everything you see. You got these phones in your pocket, right, that can, make you philosophically miserable and make you feel bad about yourself and ruin your psyche. You could do that with them, or you can use them to read Wikipedia articles, use iNaturalist, study taxonomy, that stuff, and just familiarize yourself with the plants growing around you. It doesn't even matter if, mostly what's around you is invasive bullshit, because everything's native somewhere. So you can learn about it, learn what family it's in, what order it's in, what else it's related to, how its flowers get pollinated, how its seeds get dispersed. Why is it invasive? What makes it so successful ecologically? That kind of stuff, So I tell people do that. Study this stuff because, a lot of it's disappearing. And, I think that's really just the key thing. A lot of this stuff, you got to go out, you got to get field experience, whether it's, out in a mountain, a beautiful mountain somewhere, or if it's in a dirty vacant lot, with broken bottles and dog shit in it or something. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, like you're saying, if you want to talk about oligarchy, like knowledge is power, knowledge is dangerous. Facts are facts, opinions are opinions. I try not to focus on it. I love hearing opinions, but still facts are facts. And Tom has a master's. I have no college degree. I probably learned more in the last 4 years on this podcast than I have the original 30 years in the horticultural industry.
I'd admit that I've probably learned more in the last 4 years on this podcast than I did through a whole bunch of years of college and grad school.
But we encourage everyone, have your own journey. Like we all do it. Don't do what I did. Do your own thing, and don't listen to anyone that tells you that you can't do it. Yeah.
What I was going to say is what I love most about your guys' content is it is approachable. And I have friends that are outside of the horticulture, botany space that are saying when they find out what I do, hey, have you heard of these guys? Do you watch their YouTube stuff? And I'm like, oh, I'm surprised you watch their YouTube stuff. So, no, I think it makes it approachable. And then I know I've sat down more for the comedic aspect of it and realized, man, I learned a hell of a lot in that last 10, 15, 20 minutes. While also laughing the entire time. So, no, really appreciate all that you guys do.
I gotta say too, it's Tony's content for the most part. This is my guy's thing. He did all this stuff. He went out there. I'm kind of like a shamanistic spiritual guide. I do a little comedic cameos now and then, but the bulk of that stuff, doing the field botany, I'm not out there.
But you have to say that you
breakdown. When I'm about to have an emotional breakdown at 7 a.m., I call you. You answer the phone. You talk to me. You sit through it with me. You're like a shaman. He's a shaman.
I'm like an AA sponsor and a spiritual advisor all in one.
But Al, you got to admit, since you've been doing this, you have to feel that you've learned something and have an opinion.
Yeah, I definitely see the world with a different eye, and the tools, like we were talking about technology now. iNaturalist, wow, what a thing! You could snap a picture of some plant, you could put it up there. In 20 minutes, you got people all over the world saying, I know what that is. Here it is. You've seen it there before. I said, wow, this is what it should be. We don't need to be doing this stuff on our phones where it's just all ads for Temu, for crap you're going to buy. It's going to fall apart, you're getting agitated on an advertising algorithm, and you're getting your mind warped and your activity tracked.
Right. Pawns of the algorithm. Pawns. That's what's everybody's a pawn of the algorithm now. It's really a mind control thing they're doing. They're fucking with everyone's head, you know.
It is,
We're
but
all-
And what a soothing balm to go learn about some plants, things that have been here alongside us as natural beings for thousands and thousands of years, with which we co-evolved. You know, come on.
yeah, I mean,
it's an interconnected web, you know.
yeah, I mean, nature's supposed to be accessible to everyone. So it's, you know, and even with the algorithm, you find if the content's good, it finds its way to the top, you know, and that's why you're doing what you do. And that's why everyone knows who you are, because it's good content and it's accessible content.
Yeah. And how did you guys link up?
I don't know. We did that a long time ago. It's been 16 years now. When did I meet you, Al?
2008, 9? Was it 8 or 9?
Why don't you tell them about Bensonville?
You know, some of the first things we did together were little comedy videos. You know, that was some of the first videos we made was together. We would drive around. We went out to Bensonville, which is a small suburb between the city of Chicago, near O'Hare Airport.
Home of Victory Auto Wreckers.
RIP, a well-loved auto wrecking yard with an iconic local commercial that ran for decades. Look it up on YouTube, Victory Auto Wreckers. Your old car is worth money. And it had this hippie guy on there, and they handed him cash when the door fell off his car. But we went out to Bensonville, and it was a township that was bought up for expansion of O'Hare Airport. So we went out there and we filmed this stuff, and you know, there's 5-6 foot tall, you know, grass growing in the yards. There's deers walking around. Everybody had left the neighborhood, and we just went out there, and then, you know, we did little videos on Mannheim Road, which is a, you know, kind of like a light industrial commercial quasi vice strip in parts, you know, and
a lot of coke and hookers on Mannheim Road, probably, but you don't see, you know, that's what, and we were just documenting what we've seen out there. We were talking about the urinal company.
Well, that's the kind of place Mannheim Road is. You know, the Sloan Urinal Company, who makes urinals and valves, who makes the urinal valves worldwide. Send them out. You're using a washroom somewhere. That's a Sloan valve. That is a Sloan valve.
That's right.
And so
we went out there. We filmed it.
We went up to the sign. You know, we just wanted to expose some culture, and so, you know, this kind of anthropological comedic documentation, you know, it just kind of organically evolved into the plants, you know, I think for at least for Tone over here, because, you know, he was always looking. As soon as the camera phones came out, this guy, he said, I got to start doing little videos, you know.
Yeah, I just couldn't help it. I'd see something nice, I want to record it, because I think a lot of that comes from sharing it with others, you know. This is so cool. This is so nice. I want other people to see this. That's what it is all the time, you know, when you see something cool or something interesting. And so, you know, the more I started going out, it started out just, you know, I wanted to go, quote unquote, hiking, you know, to get away from where I lived and just to clear my mind. That felt good. And then I just started paying attention. I started paying attention to what was out there. All these, I was living in California at the time, you know, before it became a feudalistic cultural cesspool, and, you know, real estate went through the roof. It was when California was still somewhat affordable. I was living out there, and I was working for the railroad, and then, you know, my off days, I would just go out hiking, walking around, looking at, you know, geologic places of geologic interest, or looking for a certain plant species I was interested in, which at the time was mostly just, you know, any of the 12 native cypress species, or any of the 96 taxa of manzanita, or, you know, rare oaks. And so I would go out to these places, and then I was just taking pictures of everything. You take pictures, you know, you document something, you can look at it later, you can think about it later. And being in those places felt so good, because being everywhere else felt so bad. You know, being in a strip mall, I wanted to die. Being on a freeway in traffic, I wanted to die. Well, puke and then die. You know, being at work, I wanted to shit. Being, you know, this self both figuratively and literally. Being all these places just felt, you know, it feels bad to be in a lot of places that humans make, especially in a, you know, a first world culture slum / retail consumer farm like the United States. And so, you know, I just, as an antidote to that, I realized that, quote unquote, nature felt good. I don't even like the word nature, because it's just the real world outside of everything humans have created. the majority of the actual living world is nature. Humans are kind of the odd man out, you know. And so I just started taking bigger stuff and video and stuff, and that's where, you know, and I just ended up here. You know, I've always had a way with words. I've always been kind of a poet. Al, would you say I did a little poetry back in the day? Well, how was it?
You've always been a writer. I'd say we both got away with words. We're both loquacious gentlemen from the city of big shoulders with a personality to mention at the end of the day. At the end of the day, you know, talking about this stuff is important because you got to show an alternative. You know, I think sharing your own journey as you're talking about is such a big thing. That's really important, and kind of what we've been talking about the whole time is talking about how to do that. Find your own journey within the plants and within yourself. And
right, that's right. And I think there was always a subtle anger beneath all of it. You know, there was always an awareness that these beautiful things were being squelched by all this terrible stuff. And I think it's fine, you know, despite the forced positivity that it's kind of more like an Anglo-Californian outtake. You got to do this forced positivity. You can't talk about the negativity. But you got to remember, I was watching George Carlin videos when I was 15 years old. So he had a big thing. You know, really his last few years, he was a real negative fuck. I mean, that guy he was a real, he'd bum out the party. And I think sometimes you got to bum out the party, but you do it in a way that makes people laugh. And I think that's nice because you're still speaking truth. You're not covering it up and watering it down like the 1950s housewives were. You're being honest, but you're also being lighthearted and putting a spin on it. And I think with that, people can still find hope to the depressing reality and maybe change things, at some point in the future, because they're not, just walking around miserable about it. You're honest about it, but you're also laughing about it at the same time, telling the people who are causing it to go fuck themselves. And I think there's a real art, in that kind of mentality. I think that's kind of the mentality we need. So, I don't know. That's what I did.
Stay tuned for more of the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Welcome back to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery.
That's a great point, because there's times we finish a podcast and we're like, wow, that's depressing. Like, how do we at least make it so that you feel like there's hope and you're not just pulling everything down?
Well, and I don't even need hope. I mean, I'm going to do what I do regardless. I'll do what I do even if I know I'm on a sinking ship, because it just feels good. But whatever you do, don't lie. Don't lie. A lot of people lie. It's what the college kids do. They fucking lie. And I don't like it. It doesn't feel good, and it's not good for anybody, No,
we try to look at every aspect of it. There's always more than one side to the story, and let's discuss. And sometimes my opinion changes. We can get a couple episodes in and go, I no longer feel that way. I feel this way now, and that's okay. I was going to...
For myself, I do enjoy hope. I like a big scoop of hope in the morning. I get it in there with the big spoon. I scoop that up. I say...
Well, study the geologic time scale. There's your hope. You learn that all this is temporary. You learn to zoom out. You learn that a human lifespan is but a blink of an eye. There's your hope. That's my hope.
Well, I was going to ask, because as you mentioned, like, you take a hike to feel good. So somewhere your love for botany kind of turns to a love for ecology. Does walking through those woods now still make you feel good, like knowing more about what's been happening to nature, or is that what kind of spawned your crusade to do what you do?
Because I know that. I mean, the hope for me is that I know, and even if you look, Tom, at some of the Hopi apocalypse stories, or many cultures, native cultures especially, knew that all this would not be. This was not sustainable. This is what we're doing now is not going to last. And we're either going to learn or we're going to hit a brick wall. And either one of those options I'm fine with. I mean, honestly, I'd prefer we learn and keep on moving and develop a new culture, keep on moving forward, but we learn, we develop we develop a culture that shows reverence for these things instead of reverence for muscle cars and fancy tennis shoes and Botox injections at age 32 and all the other things that are trademarks of a society in decline. But, When I walked, when I initially got into all this stuff was because I realized I didn't know anything about shit. I was an ignorant fuck. I had no clue about, geology or the geologic time scale or where we came from. And so when I learned about the geologic time scale and just took a geology course, it was really the first. I just took a community college geology course because I was seeing all these cool road cuts and I had no idea what those squiggly lines on the side of a mountain were or why there were lines on the side of a mountain. And I got context for everything, and it felt so good to finally understand how things came to be. And so then it just developed into wanting to have context for everything and asking questions. I was always asking questions. I was always thinking about things. I would write questions down. This is before the age of smartphones. And then, have a piece of paper I'd carry around in my pocket. I'd go to the internet. You get an hour on the computer at the internet at the library. And, so I'd go to the library and look up these questions and just and read about it. And then when you'd be reading about an answer to one of these questions, then you would you'd see vocabulary in there or something else that would or other concepts that you didn't understand. You'd look those up too. So it became like, okay, now I answered this one question, but now I have 10 more questions about this other stuff. And so I think I wasn't content not knowing. And I think that's what kind of blows my mind now, the more, and I don't judge anybody for it, but I can't help but wonder how are they content not knowing? Like, how are they fine just smoking pot and playing video games and not wondering, how something like concrete is made, or like how a mountain was created, or how, the area, the names of the native plants that live around them, or what the landscape looked like before it got turned into a fucking Chick-fil-A and a Starbucks and all this other grotesque shit that, is now the ornamentation of our landscape. Like, what was there before? Like, aren't they curious? Like, and so that's kind of, it went from me initially wanting to identify plants to later understanding, well, what pollinates the plants, what disperses the seeds, what fungi might these plants be associating with in the soil? How do they deal with stresses? How do they deal with dormancy in temperate climates in the winter? How do they deal with stresses in dry environments where it doesn't rain for 6 months, like California, where the hottest season is also the driest season, which is also California, trademark of a Mediterranean climate. And so I just wanted to learn all of that because I couldn't believe what an ignorant fuck I was. I just didn't know. And plus it just felt good. So now it feels, when I walk through, I don't really go to forest much. I like more of like a low growing chaparral environment, or perhaps thorn scrub, or perhaps the desert. But when I go there and I look at all these things, it feels good to at least have I may not have the full answer, but at least have an inkling. Like, what is this rock type? What's this, crystal looking structure that's in the rock? Oh, that's selenite. It's basically gypsum, which you get in, marine sedimentary rocks, which in Texas, where I am now, are mostly of Cretaceous age, et cetera. So it's good to have a little periscope into that.
And it's amazing, like you said, like how many people don't want to have that conversation, but don't challenge common knowledge. Like, why do you feel this is the way it is? Like, one of the things I loved and I appreciate about the two of you is that you have those difficult conversations. When we had Sam Thayer on about foraging, he's like, let's have the real conversation. Let's talk about how the government kind of removed us from our relationship with natural food and foraging. Let's have the real conversation. Let's go back in time. And those are conversations that sometimes people don't want to hear. And I love that you bring it out. And it's like, why do we have lawns?
And what's also surprising with that is that a lot of people just don't even think to ask. It's you talking about food. It comes from the grocery store. They don't think about the entire food cycle and where it starts and the farmer and where they are and how they interact with their environment. Are they degrading the landscape? Are they adding to the landscape? And it's a big part. That's so much of it's answering or asking the questions, finding out the answer, and then also regretting sometimes that you did that because you look at all the invasive plants that are out there and say, "Oh, I wish I just didn't know about this." But
it's good. I think knowing is always good.
Yeah,
I think people, I wish people didn't get so harped up on negative stuff. I understand it can be depressing sometimes, but I think. I hear these kids talk about climate change and it's depressing. Everything's fucked. It's like, yeah, well, everything's always been fucked. Welcome to being a human, Like 3,000 years ago, you would have been dead at age 14. So fucking, you find a way to don't harp on it. Don't focus on that. Move along, deal with what you can. You gotta, we're lacking a philosophy in this day and age. We're farmed as consumers. We're, intellect is bad for the economy. Having a populace that values art and creativity and science is bad for the economy, right? Because especially if you're a consumer economy, we've predicated our whole system on selling people shit they don't need and, investing in real estate, jacking up real estate prices. It's another trademark of a society in decline. But I think that, intellect, art, science, and then a philosophy too, having a philosophical take on this, where you're not lying to yourself and you're also not letting yourself get swamped with, how depressing things are. I mean, if I focus, I take a long game approach, right? That's what my view is. I look at everything long game. I know the geologic time scale. I know that my life is but a blip. I don't know what's going to happen when I die, if I'll get returned to the soil of my spirit. I don't know if consciousness just ends or what. I don't give a shit. But I know that focusing on what's here and now is like focusing on, the fart somebody made in an elevator. It's going to be gone soon. So don't worry about that. Just do what you do and find love and beauty in all of it. All these kids that harp on this negative stuff, I understand. It's hard to train your mind not to, but you got to find a way around it, because it's not worth it. It's not worth the time. Like, and the shit we're doing here is not going to last that long. It's really not. I mean, in terms of geologic time scale, it's just not. Like I said, we're either going to learn our lesson as a civilization or we're not. And either one of those I'm fine with. We're going to hit a brick wall and whatever, or we're going to keep on going and learn. Either one of those I'm fine with. I prefer learning, but again, who knows what's really going to happen.
But everyone does have a say. They do have the opportunity to make a change. One of the things that we harp on all the time is sometimes the narrative's controlled by those who have money, the businesses that profit off of the information they're feeding out to everyone. So, some of my favorite ones are, the honey industry or cultivars, because they're making a lot of money off of patents and they're going to advertise and they're in your face, or mosquito spraying, like why that's good for you. And they're controlling the narrative because they have the money and they have a lot to gain from that, or like lawn products, like for fertilizer and all those things that are bad for the soil, but people do because they think they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, the cultivar thing is just a form of consumer capitalism with native plants, right? It's the same. It's the same thing. It's disconnection from what really matters. I mean, what I think about that all the time, like, what would a world I looked like? What would a world I wanted to live in look like? And like, how would we do things differently? One, I wouldn't have to spend half my day trapped in a car to get around. I wouldn't be looking at billboards for ambulance chasers every 3 blocks, like at least where I live, where I am. That's a huge industry down here. I would kids would be taught geologic time scale and evolution beginning in first grade. I don't know. Those are some of the things out of many, but I don't know. Again, just going back to the hope thing, I think it could just be so easy to just fixate on negative shit, and it doesn't do anybody good. I guess my whole life I live as an antidote to that. For me too, this is probably just me, but I actually sometimes look for conflict where I see there might need to be a conflict, like if someone's being a bully or got some sort of shitty, ideology, I don't run from it. For me, it's not fight or flight. It's normally just fight. And it just means go towards it, move towards the conflict. And in my older age, I've learned to be more strategic about it instead of just, telling it to go fuck off or whatever. But I don't know. I think that's how you slowly change stuff. You don't just sit there and ignore it and harp about how depressing it is,
No, Tom can
find a way to go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, Tom can attest, like I've over the last couple of years become the one every time we're at a conference that's raising their hand and challenging what's being said. And I'm like, why is it always me? Why am I the only person challenging or questioning what's being said as truth when it's not necessarily the truth. Like, why is no one else doing this?
And isn't that kind of like the whole basis of science? Is like, is it true? Is it? Let's all talk about it. Let's document the information and discuss it. Let's peer review. Let's test these things. Let's try to replicate them.
Well, any study is, you can say is factual, but it's how you present it or skew it to meet what you're trying to present, and that's what I have a problem with. You can have the same scientific study that gets looked at 10 different ways.
I think a lot of people too, I mean, going to the conflict thing or why people don't speak up, a lot of people, we're social primates. We forget that. We're animals. We've got primate neurochemistry. We've got, primate neurochemistry is what's dictating a lot of our behaviors. I mean, the good thing about humans is that we can learn to control for those things instead of just innately responding to that primate neurochemistry. We can try to control for it. We can practice self-awareness, meditation, whatever. But at the end of the day, we're still social primates and we're still looking for validation from our peers, whatever group we're in, and that's kind of what the people who interest me are the ones who don't seem to need that validation, who are doing their own thing,
Yeah, no, totally. Because let's face it, most of us are fucked up and need validation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, Fran mentioned lawns, and that's you have your show that you make called Kill Your Lawn. One, I wanted people to know where they can watch that. So if you can plug that here, that would be great. And then two, can you walk us through why? I think a lot of our listeners probably know why they should kill their lawn, but if we have some people who are unfamiliar with the reasons why, can you give them a bulleted list, maybe 5 things why they should kill their lawn?
Al, you take this.
This one, okay. So I'll take the first part first. We got this show, Kill Your Lawn. Where can you watch it? Okay, you could. So I think this episode's gonna air. Hang on, I got a little cheat sheet here. Right. I got a promotional cheat sheet. I requested. I said we're gonna go on a show. We should be telling folks where, when, and how they could see the thing because we want people to see it. Okay, so if you're listening to this when it airs, okay, the season finale of season 2 of Kill Your Lawn, you could watch it on May 30th at 10 p.m. in the U.S. Thursday night, May 30th, 10 p.m. Okay, so if you got DirecTV, Uverse, or Spectrum Cable, you could watch the EarthX channel on there. Online, you could do Fubo or DirecTV streaming, and then also Philo. That's another thing. They got all the names now. But I think Fubo and Philo, like Philo Dough.
Yeah, I thought it was a dough. I didn't know it was a streaming network. But it's real.
It's these college kids coming up with these names. It's the college kids. They're ruining the world. I'm telling you, they're coming up with Philo and Fubo. That's not to be confused with Fubu, which was a wonderful clothing brand created by, for the African American demographic. And so that was. Do people still wear the FUBU? You see people wearing FUBU over there?
I haven't seen it in a while.
Like an old timer. It's an old timer thing. If you're, they probably still.
They're not making it no more.
But I think you might be. You might if you're wearing some brand new FUBU, you might be about 50 years old.
What about Roka wear? They still wear that?
Roka wear. I think is still. They're still making some respectable streetwear. I think people are still doing that. I think they're still in a game. I've seen some ads online. Is
that the one? That's the one with the rhino. Is that the rhinoceros?
I think that's.
Oh, that's Echo.
Echo, yeah.
That's Echo.
He's a Jersey guy.
Right.
Yeah, he is a Jersey guy.
There you go.
This is good. Look at talk about intersectionality. It's another kid.
Yeah.
That's another word these college kids made up. Where we went to talking about, small time cable TV shows to talking about streetwear from the late 90s and early 2000s.
All right,
How's
so
that for versatility?
Here's some Echo background. One of our colleagues, not a coworker, but someone we deal with, went to high school with Mark, who created Echo, and he was saying they were on No, I can't remember his name.
But it's Mark Echo.
Yeah. But he was saying they were in New York City at a field trip, and he was wearing a shirt that he had made himself with Marilyn Monroe in it, and they happened to bump into P. Diddy, who asked him where he got the shirt, and he said he made it, and he's like, "Can you make me one?" And that's what kind of started.
Before he got his house raided.
Yeah, way before.
What was he having? Do you have a sex dungeon in there?
I don't know.
Was that what it was? What was his
If I knew, I wouldn't say.
And what was it? Did he have his sex dungeon? What was going on? Was he had like a bunch of hot young twinks in there, or what was he doing?
No, I think the P. Diddy thing was like, very sadly, he's like R. Kelly, but even worse.
Yeah.
Oh, like the underage thing. Oh, that's not.
Yeah.
And everything. He's like just horrible things. Horrible.
He had something wrong with him upstairs.
You know.
Yeah, there's got to be if you're.
You know.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, moving right along. Moving along to brighter topics.
And not get mired in the P. Diddy controversy. I also want to point out that, I'm not railing on these college kids. I like these college kids.
No, they're good. They got the heart right. They just got to get out of college. That's all.
And especially as we're recording this right now, I don't want anybody to think ragging on the college kids means that we're ragging on a movement, to stop killing a bunch of people in Palestine. Because there's some people conflate that. They're like, oh, these college kids on the campuses and whatnot. No.
I was ragging on college kids long before any of that stuff. That's some good stuff that they're doing.
That's right. I support the student movement. I think the American empire supplying bombs for genocide is a terrible thing. Moving right along, 5 reasons you should kill your lawn.
Those kids still got to get out of college at some point, though, and get some real world experience. Removed from the protest topics. Because I think you're not going to want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. You might want to edit this out later, but I think what Israel's doing is fucking sociopathic. That said, aside from all that, I think college can still, I don't think kids should go right to college outside of after high school. I think you got to get some real world experience, figure out who you are first, because otherwise you come up with all these goofy terms people start using and, or goofy brand names like Philo. I don't know what that is, or Fubo. Any of this stuff.
You want to laminate it with a mixture of butter and honey and some chopped nuts in there, real nice.
Right.
Maybe some pistachios or some walnuts. At the end of the day, the doctor said I got to stop eating that stuff. Apparently, it's activating the gout. Okay, so then I can't even bend my knee. It's just like a peg leg. I feel like Captain Hook over here. Captain
right. I'm just, college kids, whether they're protesting valid subjects or whether they're going to business school to learn to make up goofy names for startups, I think they got to get out of college at some point.
Right. You got to get out.
They got to go eat some shit. You got to go have a bad trip. You got to go ride the bus at 2 a.m. You got to get off your rich parents' dole, and you got to get some real world. People ask me, I say, you go to community college, learn some stuff, get a blue collar job, eat some shit for a few years, then you can go to college after. That's fine.
There's blue collar jobs left, unfortunately.
No, there's not. The oligarchy's gotten rid of most of them. That's right.
I think it was the last of an era. I think you got in under the wire, my friend, where you could just go get a job on the railroad or go in manufacturing or something, and that stuff that doesn't exist, And then
there's still some. I just think it's a much smaller part of the American economy. They want retail.
And they're trying to do it with AI, and they
want non-union retail now. They want non-union retail. You can go work in a call center or something, which is a different kind of eating shit. It's really
it's true, fuel. And it's different. I think my generation. I'm 54, so I think I was one of the last ones that was able to come into this industry. And make a life of it without having a college degree. And it's changed. My oldest son is 24, just graduating grad school now, just about to get out to life. And I'm thinking at his age, I was engaged, had a house, had been working in the nursery industry for 6 years, had a much different perspective than he has.
Yeah. And had a lot better job prospects.
Oh, yeah. Totally. He's going to make a lot more money than me, too.
Well, if he gets a job.
If he gets
that's
a
the
job,
thing.
that's
There's
true.
not a lot of options for him.
What are you supposed to do with an industrial organizational psychology degree? That's what I want to know.
Go work in HR.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Why should he kill your lawn? How you were filling us in.
Because HR exists. HR exists. You should go outside and go get your hands dirty. Okay. Let's do a rundown. Number one, it's a freaking zombie monoculture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it is a freaking alien life form on life support.
Well, it's a boring ideological desert. It's not just we always say don't just kill your lawn, kill the lawn within yourself. It's not just literally kill your lawn, it's figuratively kill your lawn too. Why do you have that? You ask people that. Turns out, half of them will tell you some bullshit like, oh, my kids like to play in it. But when I was a kid, I never liked to play in the lawn. Just go sit in the sunny lawn in 85-degree heat, in summer days. Just sit there. Like, what do? You want to play soccer, you go to the park. The lawn's not even big enough to kick a soccer ball around in most cases or whatever, So I don't know. I guess, anyway, that aside, people will say, oh, my kids like it. For me, what I've discovered is, no, you like it. You like having the lawn. It's a symbol. And you don't want people to drive by your house and see you without a lawn and then judge you for it. Again, it's that primate neurochemistry, that social validation need that we have. That aside, when you kill your lawn, well, first off, lawns aren't good. If you live in a dry area, lawns are a problem because hold on 1 sec. Okay, I'll go down here first. I'm at the skate park with my kid. We're just rolling around running around the bowl.
Nice.
But you got a lawn. You say you got a lawn and you live in a dry area. You obviously face some water deficit issues there. You live in a wet area with a lot of rainfall, like the East Coast, like when we were in Maryland. Then now you've got a runoff issue. Lawns are just useless. The roots don't go that deep. The water runs right off. They require a lot of water. You're keeping this thing bonsai'd, so it's in a perpetually stressed state, which means it's sucking up more water when you do water it. But again, those roots don't go that deep because the top vegetative part doesn't get that tall. So you got short roots, you got the short leaf blades. It doesn't do anything to cool the landscape. It keeps the landscape pretty hot. You put one of those a friend of mine, Kyle Leibarger, Native Habitat Project.
We know Kyle very well. Yeah.
He took one of those thermometers, those laser thermometers, pointed it at asphalt. It was like on a summer day, right? July day in Alabama, 130-degree asphalt. Pointed at the lawn. It was like 112 degrees. It wasn't. It was only marginally cooler. Pointed at the ground in a grassland. It was like 75. So it's from I could go on. I mean, never mind evapotranspirational cooling, which is what you get when you got perennials, like tall growing perennials that have deep roots and 3 or 4 feet of vegetative growth. All those leaves have stomata on the underside. Stomata taking CO2, let out water vapor and oxygen. When they let out the water vapor, it goes from a liquid state to a gas state. Boom, evapotranspiration, evapotranspirative cooling, which is the same thing that a swamp cooler does. So now you're cooling. That's one way they cool the landscape, not to mention the sun's not actually hitting the ground like it is on lawn or on an asphalt because it's shaded generally by these perennials. So it just makes more sense. Plus, now you're getting all these cool bugs. If you're planting native, all these cool bugs and the birds that eat them, cool caterpillars, cool butterflies, cool pollinators in your yard, which, if you're not paying attention, you don't have time, it's fine. But if you, get a couple hours after work or 40 minutes even after work, you can go look and see what's out there on the flowers on a summer day. And then, start taking pictures of that stuff on iNaturalist, teaching yourself about the local entomological scene in your area, and then figuring out what eats those things, what, those insects use as host plants. I mean, you start learning about the whole interconnected web. So that's what I do with my yard. I mean, my daughter and I we got like 3 or 4 different species of lizards, 2 different species of frogs. All this stuff moved in to what 2 years ago, when I got the house was just a barren lot. It was just it had St. Augustine grass, which is what they plant down here in Texas, but it's, not a drought tolerant grass. It's we're at the edge of the desert here. So the St. Augustine needed a bunch of irrigation, and it just, I don't know. I could keep going on. It's shit for brain. It's pointless. And a lot of people have it because that's just what they're supposed to do.
And they don't even know why they're supposed to do it. They just do it. One of my favorite stats is when we had Owen Wormser on, the author of Lawns to Meadows, was there was more gasoline and oil spilled filling lawn equipment each year than the spill of the Exxon Valdez, something like that. Like it's things you just don't think about. Like, what are we doing?
Why are we doing it? And that was the thing. You ask people why they got a lawn. You wouldn't be, you'd be surprised how many of them stutter. I don't know. I just, it came with the house. It was, I think a lot of people are, and the people are like, oh, well, a native plant garden is hard to maintain. It's not hard to maintain. You get yourself some electric pruning shears, just to hedge stuff up once every couple months and pull some weeds, whatever. But the weeds don't even really get established once you got the other stuff growing and you got some mulch laid down, because there's not enough light for them and there's no root space in the soil because your natives are taking up most of the root space. And
when you're thinking about life and enjoyment, like I started thinking, when I'm on my deathbed, I want to know how much time I wasted in my life mowing the lawn. Like how much time at the end of my life, like what could I have done with that time?
Yeah, going back and forth, like cattle, just going back and forth, put lines and just mowing, versus when I'm working in my garden, which I normally am when I'm home, I get distracted just walking to my truck because there's so much cool stuff to look at with the way my garden is. It's dense and it's really diverse. When I'm out there working, I don't mind it. It's not like a chore to me. I enjoy it. I'm paying attention. I'm interacting with plants. I'm paying attention to what they're doing, how they're behaving. Plants behave, obviously, what they're interacting with, what pollinators are on them, how they're growing, if they're stretching for light, if they're suffering in a certain spot, whatever. I'm mentally stimulated, very mentally stimulated. When you're mowing a lawn, what do you do? Just going back and forth, like a cow that's being led, on a I don't know what's the point. Guys might say, and it's mostly a man thing. This is some man shit. This is like some suburban American man bullshit. When they might say, oh, I like it, I enjoy it, it's cathartic. I guess so. Why don't you just go on a treadmill then? Why don't you go on you get a fucking Nordic track or something? What's the point of mowing the lawn? The whole thing is just, don't even get me started on fucking leaf blowers. I can't
shut down your tidy whities, go down to the basement, get on a Nordic track ski machine, and just sweat it out. You want to go push a lawnmower.
Yeah, we got a fitness center of the mind we've been in for the last year and a half since we started filming this show. Al, tell them about the fitness center of the mind.
It's a place you can retreat and you can focus your energies. It's about it. No more to it than that. You go hone your mental fortitudes.
It's necessary. Everyone needs that just to refocus and be good.
Yeah, and there's this whole lawn dad culture now with that it's like you have to. That's a part of being basically a suburban dad is that you got to really care about the lawn, and that's not how it should be.
That sounds like some creepy Jordan Peterson shit.
Stay tuned for more of the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Welcome back to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery.
I first started thinking.
Be a good boy. You be a good boy now. Be a good boy. Be a good boy. We're really proud of you. Be a good boy.
I started really thinking about lawns differently in the 90s. At one point, I had a 6-month stint with True Green, which was a real eye-opener. And back then, like the big movie was Men in Black, and the owners did this presentation called Men in Green. And the one owner cemented his lawn and then put sod over top of it to show that they could keep it alive with chemicals. And I started thinking, is that what it's about? Like, is that where it's, and then you start looking at the amount of money that's being generated by that. And I'm like, all right, it's a business. It's definitely a business. Like, and people are just buying it without questioning it.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's really creepy to me. It's really fucking weird. I don't get it. It's not, I can get, maybe there's a couple people out there who have a lawn fetish and that's just their thing and they're not doing it because they've been told to. Maybe that's the case. Probably not. I'm sure there's a couple cases though where you could find it. But overall, it's a really weird thing. It feels like, you ever see that sci-fi movie, The Purge? That's about mass murder. Now, I'm not saying lawn is meant, but I'm saying the culture, that future sci-fi world is somewhat reminiscent of this lawn cult,
So I wanted to ask, because I'm looking at time and I want to be respectful because I know we have an out for you. So should I not bring up your thoughts on leaf blowers? Should we pass on that?
I don't know. I just think they're just the most obnoxious, Sisyphusian, feudal fucking, they're like muscle cars. It's just like this obnoxious shit everyone's going to listen to. Like, I definitely advocate vandalizing them if you have the ability to. Well, it depends, because a lot of those guys are just, they're just workers, but definitely if it's like a suburban guy thing, that's the thing is most of these like rich suburban stiffs that got lawns and leaf blowers, they're not even doing their own yard work,
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And the guys that are doing it, that's what they know. So any thoughts
right, they're just
opposed to
in
that
the system like everyone else,
Exactly. There's a whole different opportunity out there for them. So,
but it's weird. I've met some of these guys before who like defend it. It's become, because we are a culture war. The United States is in a culture war. I don't participate. I try not to, but it's because it just benefits the oligarchs. That's the whole purpose of it. It's probably a grandiose psyop, but we are in a culture war, and so people attach themselves to these things. Just like the way some of those morons, it was like a thing to attack Bud Light, or it was they were blowing up Keurig coffee machines for a while.
Yeah.
And so there's a cult that, or gas stoves or the leaf blowers, So, and those people are being manipulated too. They're being told by media outlets what they hate. So, but it's the thing. You meet people that are defending this leaf blower thing. It's hilarious. Like, really, you like that? And you watch these guys go blow this stuff around. It just seems so futile and pointless. It's like watching a dog run around in circles chasing its tail. It's kind of the same feeling.
You mentioned the finale of Kill Your Lawn season 2. Is there talks for season 3? What does the future of that look like for you?
I don't know. I mean, it's it's nice. It's a fun job. I get to hang out with my best friend, and we go just, we were basically just doing stuff I'd be doing otherwise, except it's funded now. I mean, I've been killing a bunch of lawns in my free time too. I just killed 3 last week, 3 last month. I killed a friend's, and then his neighbor wanted it done too. So this stuff catches on, they see, this guy's doing this. I'm going to do it too. The city tried to bother one of my friends, and, that old, again, there's no fight or flight with me. It's just fight. So I went up to the city and just I was very polite and diplomatic, but I was just as annoying as all hell. While simultaneously being as kind as I could, trying to inform them why it doesn't make sense to have a lawn, and why people should be allowed to have native plant gardens here in South Texas, et cetera. Because South Texas especially is like 50 years behind the rest of the country. I mean, it's still the 1950s here, or it's trying to be in some way,
Where's Rome Ranch at, Tom? What part of Texas is that at?
Outside of Austin.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to visit Rome Ranch, Taylor is doing some incredible things there.
Oh yeah, it's even a different world up there where I live. It's a whole other, it's a whole other dimension. It's like a 7th dimension. It's weird down here. I like it, but it gets a little weird sometimes.
And with the show, Al, what can viewers expect to see? When they're tuning in, what can they actually see when you're killing lawns out there?
They'll see us in the discomfort of being on a non-scripted, non-fiction television lawn and garden procedural show. There's some good moments there of us just being like, what the hell did we get into? And they play it up on the show. It's fun. It's a fun show. Basically, every episode, we go to a different city, different town. We meet a different homeowner. We meet a different landscaper. And then we kill the lawn in a comical fashion. We do a little skit, We do a little joke. We do some jokes about how we're killing.
Do some gags.
And then Joey, leads us on an adventure into the environment around us. We learn about plants. We
learn about ourselves too. I've learned a lot about myself by doing this.
Each episode has kind of like a feature plant for that ecosystem that we're in, that we're going to put in a lawn somehow. We visit nurseries. We visit scientists and researchers. We visit botanists. We visit ecologists. We visit nurseries. We visit all kinds of stuff. and we get you a taste of what's going on in that area when it comes down to who's killing their lawn, who's putting in native plant gardens. This season 2, we were in Chicago, and we were also over by D.C. in the suburbs of Baltimore, suburbs of D.C. We went to a bunch of houses over there. We met some people. What they did, they took their HOA fight all the way to the Maryland state courts.
Yep.
And now in Maryland, you don't have to have a lawn. Mm-hmm. You have your garden. So it's good. But yeah, it's it's a fun show. It's 23 minutes. It'll give you a little taste. And we have a good time. We have a good time. Sorry, I got stuck there. A little bit.
It happens sometimes. We get stuck in a we got stuck in a bathroom during one of the episodes. You remember that one? That was at that house in outside of Baltimore. I got locked in there.
Behind the scenes, he couldn't do the door handle. It was one of those sliding doors, and they had put some kind of child lock on there, and it turns out that it latches in a certain way where if you do it wrong, it gets stuck. But
and I was screaming. Started screaming. He had to get the screwdriver, Jimmy, the door handle, get me out, and the homeowner was getting mad. Homeowner got pissed too. They almost disinvited us back.
Oh God,
we were almost disinvited, but we got invited.
Honest to God crisis, though. I couldn't get out of there, and I started having heart palpitations. I felt claustrophobic and stuff.
You were screaming,
I was stuck in a jam.
We meet a bunch of people who want to kill their lawns, and they got different reasons for doing it. Like the ones we talked about, whether it's they got a bunch of runoff, they're on a hill, they want to hold on to some water, they want to do a little terracing, put in a bunch of native plants with actual roots. They want to do something for the bugs and the birds, and create a little more habitat for some other things in the ecosystem. They want something they can interact with. They want to not use so much water. We do stuff down in California and Texas where water's real scarce, and they want to do it for the water down there. And you got to, with this lawn stuff, you just got to pull the needle out of your arm, because it's some real corporate dope. They really got you stuck on this stuff, needing all the chemicals like we were talking about.
It's the conformity thing too. Again, it's that need for social validation. It doesn't matter if your neighborhood's full of knobs. It's no one wants to be looked at for being quote unquote weird. I think the lawn is fucking weird though when it comes down to it.
But it's very similar to car culture, where it's like you're riding a bike. What's wrong with you? You got a DUI? What are you, a kid? It's the same thing. It's like these things that are good for the environment and good for your health are like looked down upon because, they want to keep you sick. They want to keep you working. They want to keep you.
Yeah, they want you pre-diabetic at age 40. That's what they want. It was funny too. I had someone didn't like the word kill. What kind of funky vanilla shit is that? We don't reduce your lawn. Don't kill it. Reduce. Are you fucking kidding me? Reduce the lawn? What the fucking kind of watered down honky shit? That's some fucking lily white dinner party shit. That's like, I like to go to places like that and fucking put a turd in the punch bowl. That's what I like. I like to go fart when I'm surrounded by 9 of those people on a fucking airplane, and I'll make sure I'm eating beans and broccoli beforehand. That's again, it's that fight or flight shit. Fuck that. There's no time for this. You reduce your lawn. That's watered down. Again, maybe that applies to a certain demographic. That's not the demographic we're looking for. We're looking for people, that are kind of already there, that are already feeling it. We're not looking for these high class, turds. We're looking for the kind of degenerates and slobs, people that might have an appreciation for this. We're looking for that suburban dad, who's dying on the inside, who hates his life but isn't ready to admit it yet. That's our target demographic. We're going to be like a fucking dose of clinician-assisted MDMA to get his ass out of that fucking mindset that's poisoning him, get him to kill his lawn, put a native plant garden in, start thinking about the world differently.
I can't tell you how much we appreciate your view on it because it's needed. Like people that question conventional wisdom and realize, when you were saying there's not enough time, like I think of Dwayne Estes from Southeastern Grassland Initiative saying, we got to do this now. There's not time. Or people like Benjamin Vogt who are just telling it like it is, which isn't done enough.
Reduce your lawn. Reduce. Don't fight. If you just ask nicely and be nice, maybe they'll comply. Right. That's not how it works, buddy. And especially when you got the other side. It's not even the other side thing, but the people who still believe in all this goofy, antiquated bullshit. And I'm not just talking about the lawn. When you got those people actively talking down and fighting this stuff, asking, why would you ride a bike? Why would you ride a bike? Why don't you fucking drive everywhere? Why don't you have a lawn? Keep your lawn looking nice. Why don't you have a lawn? What's wrong with you? Yeah, well, that's that. Reduce your lawn isn't going to fucking work with those people. So give that shit a rest. Try our tactic. Kill your fucking lawn. Kill the lawn with inside yourself, and then start teaching yourself about the antidote to all that negative shit, which is the native biodiversity around you.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I really like the kill your lawn and the lawn inside yourself. That's what we really all got to do, because too many people will care about all the bullshit things and not the things that actually matter.
If people don't understand what that means, then that's good. Maybe they'll ask the question. Maybe then ask the question. And maybe they'll think about it. What does he mean by that? Yeah, pal, you can fucking answer it yourself. You think about it. Sit on it for a few days. You'll figure it out.
Yep.
But I love who you're talking, like when you're saying like the suburban dad who's dead inside and can't admit it yet. We always talk about like, how do you get this message out to more people? You can't just look at the choir. It's the guy that's sitting on a hammock watching a football game on a Sunday that doesn't care. How do you make him care? How do you make him make a difference? And I feel like you're doing that with your approach.
Or not just do it without knowing he's doing it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing we talked about. Is
this shit feels rewarding. And it shouldn't be this stodgy white college demographic that cares about it. I mean, and I'm not knocking college. I mean, ironically, the coolest people I've met in academia are the older people, like the professors who've actually had some lived experience. It's the people I've met that have been the most pain in the ass are these young, often, and I've actually got some fucking pretty cool, like younger friends in college, like 20, 21, like kids that impress me. But I've also met a lot of like people in their early mid 20s who are these stodgy, fucking whiny, this demographic that is like, you could tell they come from some weird bubble, and they don't like what I do. And that's fine. You don't need to like what I do, but they're like almost ideologically against it. They don't like the abrasiveness. And that's fine. I get it. I don't know their fucking background. Show's not for you. That's fine. But it's, their attitude, I feel like is not helpful. I feel like they're oblivious to, like, again, they're just class oblivious. They're oblivious to the issue of class in this country, which is what, keeps, elitist shit like that. Again, it doesn't matter if you have signs in your window saying you're a fucking ally. Yeah, that's great. Right. That's cool. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you still act like a rich twat. It's, elitist twat. You talk down to people. You're fucking, you're worried what people think of you. You're all this shit. You're not doing the world any good. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to signal all this stuff. I mean, and the other side signals the same thing. You see people with Second Amendment, patriotism, all that goofy shit in their bio, whatever. Just ignore all that shit. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what side you're on. If you're into conservation, you're into native plants, you're into having a reverence for ecology, we can talk, whatever other shit you're into, if you're into weird religion stuff or whatever, that's fine. Just, I don't want to hear about it. Don't talk to me about it. Let's just stick to the things I don't need someone to agree with me politically to be my friend, Yep. And I also stopped thinking that people who do agree with me politically are automatically my friend, because I realize in a lot of cases they're not. They're actually kind of obnoxious people. No offense to them. I just don't want it. I don't need to be around them, But it was actually, it was my friend Linda Neiman, this old Southern Pacific break woman, who got me thinking like that. And it threw me off at first. I didn't know what she meant, but she said, just because someone agrees with me politically doesn't mean we're automatically buddies. Nor should I, go through life thinking that. It's because what are my values? My values are having reverence for ecosystems, for non-human life, understanding all of it, I have more of like a native land ethic, I guess, than anything else. That's what I have reverence for, not all this other shit that's on the surface. It's not who I am. It's not what matters to me,
I agree. Yeah. I agree 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So just for not trying to change the subject, just for the sake of time, because I'm trying to to get you out when I said I
would.
would.
You can change the subject. That's fine. We don't need to talk. I'll talk about whatever you want. You want to talk about vacuum cleaners? I'll tell you about the Bissell. Every time it breaks, I just go get another one from Walmart, put the broken one back in the box, return it, Extended warranty. That's what I call it.
Tom, have you ever done that?
We're on a subject.
I can say I've done that once in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not proud of it.
Make this shit. It just all ends up plastic in the ocean anyway. It's all a fucking scam,
Yeah.
It's fine. It's ethical. Al, what were you going to say?
Oh, just that I myself am an Oric man. When it comes to name brand vacuums. Now, this is not some kind of product placement or endorsement. I was not induced to do this by a payment of $759 directly deposited to my bank account by the Oric company. However, if they were to do that, it wouldn't matter because their product I find to be phenomenal and top quality, and I couldn't recommend it more.
Dyson. Whatever you do, don't get a Dyson. It's a scam. Dyson's a scam.
I don't think I've ever owned a Dyson. I think
good.
That's the
like the Apple
suburban, suburban housewife life. That's like if all the lawn dad stuff. That's what's on the other side. All these people.
Dyson,
my wife got a Dyson. Yeah.
Dyson is like the Apple computer.
Not great.
Of vacuum cleaners. It's a scam. It's just name. You're paying for the brand name. It's bullshit. It's going to break in 2 years.
The only Dyson I care about is the guy from Terminator 2. He did the right
Michael Eric Dyson. Where's Michael Eric? Let's talk about Michael Eric Dyson's career. Where is he right now? I'm going to look him up. I'm going to look him up on a Google.
All right. So how do you feel about Stanley cups, like the Stanley mugs that are all the big trend right now?
What, hockey? Did you do hockey? Was you ever a hockey guy, Al?
No.
I'm a Red Wings fan.
I never did sports. Michael Eric Dyson. No, he's an author. He's academic.
Okay.
That's who I was thinking of. Who was the guy who was Dyson? Who was the guy
in Terminator 2? He's a scientist who built out the Terminator based on a wreckage of the first Terminator and he had to go back in time and die kind of thing. It's kind of
Who played Dyson? Who played Dyson in the Terminator movies?
He was the guy. What's his name? Let me look him up now. It's like a podcast where we're googling stuff.
So Miles Bennett Dyson, played by Phil Morris.
Miles Dyson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, he's put Joe Morton in Terminator 2: Judgment. This is bringing me back to the '90s now.
Dyson. There you go.
I watched that and I had these apocalypse nightmares, when I was like 12.
Nightmares too. It was a scary movie.
It was a scary movie for its time.
Yeah. Another one I haven't seen.
What? Come on. Get out. Yeah. You've never seen Terminator 2?
Yeah, I've never seen or Terminator.
You never saw Terminator 1?
Yeah.
I don't know if that one plays as well today, but 2 does.
Yeah, 2 is a good one. It's not too bad.
I think you got to go back and watch
to the list.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So this is always our last question of the podcast, and it's the easiest yet sometimes the most difficult, and it's just, what is your favorite native plant?
Oh, I don't know. I like them. It's so hard to say. I mean, I can't really. I really have love for them all, and it depends on where I am. With plants to find place, what region I'm in. Depends.
What's your favorite plant today? Native plant today?
Shit, I don't know. What, for South Texas? Because that's where I am. That's what I would think about. I don't know. Sydnea tenuifolia. It's a versatile and adaptable shrub from the sunflower family Asteraceae that both grows in thorn scrub, which is a humid and somewhat dense plant community, and also grows in somewhat barren, more Chihuahua desert limestone areas as well. It's very adaptable. It does great in a fucking yard too because it grows super fast and it's just tough as nails. You can get the piss beaten out of it with the hot sun and the humidity or the drought or whatever. So probably that. But
awesome.
There's so many, man. It'll change tomorrow.
I think that's one that's never been mentioned before on here. So that's great.
So is that resin bush?
I don't know, Colin.
Right.
No, I've never heard of
we get a lot of complaints of people when they don't only say the botanical names. That's how we talk too.
That's another thing. It fucking annoys me, these common name people. It's like, just some of these common names are so fucking goofy. Why can't you learn a genus name? A genus, Sydnea, like in that case, it's like 7 letters.
Yeah.
Some of these common names are like 9 words. Like
and some of the common names, you could have or 10 different common names for the same plant that overlap with other common names.
So lazy. It's like, come on, quit, go home and drink milk. All right, just to let people who are seriously into it, not to be a dick, but just the common names thing is just so lazy. It's like you don't need to learn the species of it. Just learn the genus at least. You learn a genus. You know what? You see another species in that genus you've never seen before, 900 miles away when you're on vacation in fucking Arizona or something. Boom, you'll know it's in that genus because the flowers look the same. It's got other synapomorphies. This common name, I tell you, this common name shit, when I was living on the West Coast, learning botany out there, nobody did this stuff. This is like a Southeast thing. It's like an East Coast and Southeast thing.
Yeah.
Fixation on common names, these dumbass common names that refer to 6 totally unrelated plants.
Perfect.
So I'm done.
Perfect example with Sydnea is the other common name is skeleton leaf goldeneye. So
that's a stupid fucking name. I'm going to say Sydnea. Wait, skeleton leaf? Why the fuck is it
skeleton leaf goldeneye?
Why it doesn't look like bones? Goldeneye? Well, every fucking half the plants in Asteraceae, 14,000 species have golden eye flower. What the fuck does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Who came up with that? It's silly. It's just stupid. Our Lord's candle is another dumbass common name. Pharaoh Yucca Whippley. Our Lord's candle? Get the fuck out of here, man. Really? It's some of this stuff. I don't get where this comes from. They think, it's funny, too. They think like using a genus name makes you sound elitist. And it's like some of these people, would look down on anyone who don't even get me. I don't know. It's just so weird, hypocritical.
I think so many people are afraid of mispronouncing it, but we all none of us really know most of the time.
Stupid. Who gives a fuck? I look dumb all the time. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks of me. I care about what I think about myself, not having an ego, but like having, did I run shit through? Did I do my due diligence or whatever? That's what I care. I don't care if someone doesn't. I got friends. Man, I got like botanist friends in Mexico who pronounce shit wildly different than I would because they speak Spanish and the vowels have different. I know what they're talking about. I don't give them shit for. I'm not going to tell them. I got a friend that produces penstem and penstemon. I think it sounds fucking ludicrous. I don't care. It's a dead language. I know what he's talking about. Fuck, it's so stupid.
Well, Tom and I say all the time, whenever someone pronounces it different, we automatically assume we're saying it wrong. Oh, it's they must be right. We're wrong. Who cares?
That's what I just put this in my book that's coming out. Don't worry about pronunciation. Anyone that's going to correct your pronunciation needs a kick in the nuts. Figurative if they don't have them. Figurative nuts if they don't have them. Literal if they do. Figurative if they don't. But most cases, it's going to be a man. It's mostly going to be a man that corrects your fucking Latin pronunciation. It doesn't matter. So, but this common name thing really, it drives me nuts. I mean, get away from that. It's cool to know the common name, on the side, especially if there's like some ethnobotanic interest there, but there's no reason to use common names. It's like it's like a 9-year-old's version of botany or something. And no offense to a 9-year-old. It's, it's good for them, but you got to learn a genus name.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I mean, that's what we live and die by, but we're in the business too. So that's, a common name could be 10 different plants. It doesn't help me at all.
Yeah. So anyone who wants to write in and complain to us, you can file your complaint with Joey.
Hold on, I'm not done. When we were on Kill Your Lawn working with some of these landscapers, there's another fucking thing about the common name. You really got me on one now. I'm getting kind of mad.
That is sights on a landscaper.
You're working with these landscapers. First off, they want to plant shit in a fucking line, which is torture. That hurts my eyes. Plant shit in a uniform line, neatly spaced. Where does that honky ass shit come from? And it is fucking honky. I'm not talking about lack of melanin content. I'm talking about culturally honky. These cultural honky vanilla fucking watered down. Anyway, so they want to do that. But then you'd ask them what are you going to put here? And they would say a common name. And you're like, what's that? And they're like, I don't know. How the fuck do you not know? You work in this field. How do you not know this stuff? You're getting paid $20,000 by some of these rich fucks. In some cases, it was more than that, which I didn't like either because I wanted to do more of a working man's version of Kill Your Lawn because this shit shouldn't cost more than $1,000 max. Just blood, sweat, and tears, and maybe a couple $100. But I'd ask them this. They wouldn't know what a fucking genus name. I was like, you're getting paid $20,000 to do this fucking yard, and you don't know even the genus name or what family. What the fuck? Like,
when they're buying it, it's showing up on the invoice. They're just not looking at it. And let's be honest, if you want to go on a rant, like it's not like you take a test to become a landscaper. Like, and I'm not trying to be disparative to the people that know what they're doing. But how many landscapers out there actually, other than the fact that they had a truck and a wheelbarrow and a shovel, are really qualified to do?
No, and you're not learning plant science either. You're not learning what roots do. You're not learning the nuances of why something might grow well with something else, or what light it's going to need, or what the signs of a plant in distress are, or why a plant can be wilting even though the soil's wet, etc. Answer, it's rotting probably. The vascular system is getting disturbed either way, whether it's rotting or whether it's not getting enough water. The whole landscaping thing's a fucking scam to me. That's what I love about this. You don't need to be a landscaper. I'm eating a waffle. Excuse me.
No, that's all right.
I had to move on that waffle machine before they took it away.
Well, we even had we talked about this a while ago. I had a gentleman going door to door selling mosquito spray, and he actually walked into my backyard, which I almost decked him for just walking in the backyard. But he wanted to have. I'm like, you really want to have this conversation? Because I know what I'm talking about, and I probably know more than what you do. So hit me with it. And he wanted to do it. And then we talked for about 5 minutes, and then he just turned around and walked away. He was like, "Oh no, it's only." He's like, "Oh, it's only going to kill these insects." I'm like, "You really think there's a magic weapon that only focuses on certain insects and doesn't kill other insects?" And what about our
that gene drive technology is the only answer for mosquitoes, and I wholeheartedly approve it, especially the ones that aren't even native to North America, like Aedes aegypti.
Yeah.
Gene drive is the answer. That's all you're gonna. That's all. That's a targeted, harmless thing. Those things weren't even here until a few hundred years ago. Get rid of them.
Yeah. But Al, what's your favorite native plant? You get a turn.
Now here we go. Ileana remota, the Kankakee mallow. I learned about that one on this show. Doing the episode, we went down the Kankakee River. Apparently, this thing's endemic to just one little island in the river. I said, wow. And we got some. Did we get them from Pizzo? Did we get those?
Oh, they're great. They're great people, yeah.
Pizzo.
They know Pizzo.
Kyle and Mandy are awesome.
Yeah.
Good people.
Pizzo.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite native plant nurseries. Shout out to Pizzo.
We tried to get you when you were in Baltimore. Tom tried to reach out. We're one of the largest native only plant nurseries in the country. We're about 2 hours from Baltimore, but I don't think we got through to you.
I think it didn't work out with the production schedule to have that long.
Oh yeah.
I would have loved to go there.
Well, you're always invited.
Well, we'll come back. Come back.
All right. Yeah, please do.
Yeah, kill Fran's lawn or my lawn, either one.
Yeah,
I'm working on killing my lawn.
I'm going to get banned from. I'm going to try and see if I can get banned from the entire Northeast corridor at some point.
Banned from I-95.
All right, so we always end with final thoughts. We turn the floor over to each person, and this is where you get to summarize, promote, say something we didn't talk about. However, when you use the time, we each take a turn. Al, we can start with you.
There we go. That's good. I'm going to be one and done. I would say if people want to know more about killing your lawn, etc., there's a great book I read in preparation of the show. It's called The Lawn, A History of an American Obsession by Virginia Scott Jenkins. That's a great one if you kind of want to get into the weeds, so to speak, about the origins of the lawn and in British aristocracy and all this kind of class stuff, and also the petrochemical industry's role in promoting the lawn as a consumer lifestyle. They wanted to sell a bunch of petroleum-based pesticides and fertilizers and petroleum-based rubber hoses and all this stuff, all this plastic, all this. The lawn was basically one of the big reasons it was promoted in industrial America was to sell petroleum products. So that's one of the reasons you got to get rid of it. But check out that book. The author is Virginia Scott Jenkins, The Lawn, A History of an American Obsession. It's from 1994. It's still relevant today. It's very well researched book, very well written, very well laid out. And it's not a big one.
Awesome. I will check. Tom, have you read that one?
I have not. No,
I've
heard of it, but I never read it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Joey, your turn.
About what was the question?
No, it's just a final thought. This is where you can summarize, promote something, just however you want to use the time. You can pass. You can use it however you want.
I just get outside and start looking at plants, and then I want to give a shout out to the electric chainsaw, which I just got one They're fantastic. Really stealth way to cut down Bradford pear trees. At night, under the guise of darkness, should anyone feel they need to do that, if they need to get some anger out or something, just go start cutting down Callery pear trees. Do it in someone else's property, do it on public. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It's fun. Teen vandalism, bring out the teen vandal in your heart. Now, I know you guys might have some legal liability putting this on a podcast, but I've actually looked into this issue myself, and I've never had, I mentioned all kinds of things on my podcast, and I've never had any legal issues whatsoever. But definitely, get an electric chainsaw. It's a lot quieter than a gas one. Still creates some racket. Go out there, just start sawing down Callery pears. Make sure you can identify them correctly. They're really easy. They got a distinct leaf shape, especially if they're in flower. They smell foul as hell. Smell like a nudie booth on 42nd Street in Manhattan circa 1979. And just go out there and just start cutting them down. You make the papers, whatever, just make sure you don't get caught. If it's on private property, make sure the homeowner's not armed. If, don't get yourself hurt, obviously, but definitely it's a fun thing to go out there and do it. I recommend it. These are invasive trees. They're awful. They're taking over the East Coast. It's bad stuff. A lot of bad stuff up there.
Totally.
Yeah, I'll second the electric chainsaws. I love mine. It's it's really amazing.
You want to go next?
Yeah, I can go. And Fran, you asked me a question earlier about how the food halls were at Cornell.
Yeah.
And it's been so long, I don't remember. But I figured out after you asked the question, after we moved on, the one that I would go to was named Trillium.
Really?
So, yeah, a little plant-related fact and food fact, and
Very cool.
ties in.
Is that your final thought?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Mine is just, hey, don't believe everything you hear or see. Question common knowledge. Ask questions. Read. Listen. There's a lot you can learn. Don't just believe everything you've been told. Like, do your due diligence. Like Joey said, go outside. Use iNaturalist. Do all these things. Just be a part of it and follow your own path. Like, make sure you find it. There you go. That's all I got.
All right, cool. Well, that's going to wrap us up for today. Let me find my notes here, Fran. I'm lost. I'm looking up How to Buy the Lawn by Virginia Scott Jenkins. So that's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to Joey and Al. For more information, you can visit, we actually told you where to watch. You have any other links you want to plug? I know you have the podcast. You have
Crime
your
Pays
YouTube
and Botany
channel,
Doesn't. You have a book coming
stuff.
out, you mentioned?
Oh, no, they can find all that. I got to go scoop this waffle thing before they get rid of the machine. So, all right. Thanks a lot, you guys. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Joey.
Okay.
All right, take care, guys.
Okay.
Hey, have a great one. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks,
bye.
Fran. Thanks, Tom. Take care.
All
No
right.
problem. All right. I'll finish up my spiel. Big thank you to the Egocentric Plastic Men for contributing our theme music. Make sure you stream or buy their music wherever you consume music. You can see them live if you're in the Philly area. Follow us on Twitter at Pineland Nursery, Facebook at Pinelands Nursery NJ, Instagram at Pinelands Nursery, YouTube at Pinelands Nursery. We have a question and comment line. Don't forget about that. 215-346-6189. I will repeat that. 215-346-6189. We'll do our best to play your question or comment if you leave one on a future episode of The Buzz. And the Native Plants Healthy Planet Facebook group is just about to hit 3,000 members. We're really proud of that.
Yeah, so you can buy our T-shirts and all our merch at our website, which is www.nativeplantshealthyplanet.com. That's actually not true because you got to click a link. It takes you to a different website. That's where you can buy them. And we don't take any of the profits from those T-shirts. We give them to organizations that can really use them. So, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our show, whether you're doing that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you're listening. That goes a long, long way. And then leave that 5-star review. Even if it's just leaving 5 stars, that helps us out a lot. If you do a little write-up, then you get a shout-out on the Buzz episode. So that's your incentive. In addition, we are going to have some other giveaways coming up here in the next couple months. So that's also typically your entry is to leave a review as well. So that's you'll get your name in the hat by doing that. So. All right. Well, with that, thank you, everyone. I'm Tom.
And I am Fran. Thank you again, everyone. Joey and Al, thank you. We really appreciate the time you spent with us today. Coming up next week, we have a Buzz episode, so make sure you tune in. And until then, keep it native.
tales grows a bounty of beauty that never fails. Our native plants, so diverse and so rare, treasures of our land beyond compare. From the ferns below, soaring oaks above, each plant has a place, each plant is love. Monarch caterpillars launch milk, wheat so tall, bees buzz about, sipping nectar from all. Oh, native plants, how you grace this land. In your diversity, we will take a stand. To protect and preserve our generations of calm, and beauty and potency second to none. To protect and preserve the earth, to restore the native plant movement you just can't ignore.
Goldenrod, asters, and flowers galore. Monarch is so stunning, can't help but adore. Their colors, their fragrance, a feast for the eyes. Their value to wildlife, no need to disguise.
Native plants, how you grace this land. In your diversity, we will take a stand.
Thank you for listening to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Remember to like, share, follow, and comment.